My music magazine evaluation. Question number 1. In what ways does your product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? I have accomplished this by using key conventions of real magazines such as a masthead, located at the top of the magazine. The masthead is used to identify the magazine. For this, typography is used. Like other magazines, I have made it quite bold and simple, allowing it to be easily identifiable. I have made the masthead a glossy gold. This is because gold is a colour associated with hip hop, as it represents wealth and power. Therefore, I wanted my audience to feel like they would be buying something that buys them into this. This would cause them to want to buy my magazine. The masthead is an important convention as it makes the magazine distinct and allows the audience to familiarise themselves with the magazine. This in turn allows my audience to buy my magazine again if they wish to do so. A central image. The magazine's central image is used to allow the audience to distinguish the genre of the magazine. It also reflects the type of lifestyle which is being sold through the clothing and posture. I have accomplished developing and forming products of a real magazine by firstly researching the clothing, body language and posture of the lifestyle I was aiming to portray. As I wanted to break the typical sexualized stereotype of women in hip-hop, I decided to have my model covered up through the use of clothing. However, I still tried to reflect the hip-hop genre by dressing her with clothes that are quite cool. Also, I have managed to cause her body language and facial expressions to reflect the hip-hop genre. I feel the black leather jacket I have chosen resembles the darker side of hip-hop, representing the origins of street life and linking in with the roots of the hip-hop genre. Also, it's quite simply stylish, depicting another attribute of hip-hop. I feel I have managed to portray the basic stereotype of a hip-hop star through the posture and facial expressions. The central image is linked to the main article. Cover lines. Cover lines are short phrases on the cover of a magazine that describe major articles within the magazine. They are used to entice the reader to see what is within the magazine. Therefore, the content has to be interesting and something that will appeal to the audience. I have tried to make the cover lines short, snappy and interesting in order to lure my audience into buying my magazine. Also, for the bottom cover line, I have added the word exclusive to make the audience feel that this article was unique, one of a kind and found only in this magazine, which would as a result appeal to them. The cover lines are also located on the left third, as this is the part that is visible while the magazine is on the rack. Therefore, they play a vital role in attracting the audience. Date and price. These are conventions that keep the audience informed. The date allows the audience to be aware of the time period the information has come from. The issue number and price are small conventions that are important as they cause the magazine to look genuine, increasing how professional the magazine looks. Barcode. Barcodes cause the magazine to look more genuine. They are a vital part of the magazine as they are a verification code for the distributors for sales of the magazine. I have used barcode as it causes my magazine to look more professional. Contents page. Within my magazine, I have tried to incorporate the simplistic layout of the magazine on the right and unconventional contents page from the hip-hop magazine vibe onto my magazine. To do this, I have used conventions of a real magazine contents page and placed them accordingly. Contents page title. I have kept my title simple and eye-catching using the Gill Sans Ultra Bold font. I feel white is a colour associated with hip-hop as it reflects the cool, calm aspects of it. Therefore, I colour the word contents in white. For both the contents page title and the masthead, I used the same font. This was to keep a constant continuity of the magazine, allowing it to look like the same magazine, a vital convention of magazines. I continued with the Gill Sans Ultra Bold text as I felt it looked simple but effective. Also, it made it easier to stick to my house style as I used this text for the masthead. It also seems to be a font which has a cool aspect and feel due to the way it looks. Although the font for the contents text remained the same, I changed the colours to cause my magazine to look more diverse. I felt adding the red outer glow to the word contents caused it to look more professional and improve the basic appearance. Finally, I have placed the title contents in the middle of the page. This causes it to draw the audience in and makes it easier for the audience to navigate themselves. Like my title, this icon's title is very simple. Also, again, it is placed at the top in the centre, making it easier for the audience to navigate themselves. Again, the title here is very simple. Issue number and date. This is basic information about the magazine which keeps the audience informed. It also allows them to be up to date with the magazine. On other magazines, I found that the issue number and date was usually near the contents title. I kept with this convention by placing my issue number and date just above the contents title, where it is clear, concise, and easy to identify. As you can see here, the issue number and date is near the title that is referring to the contents page. Featured articles and comments. For these, I used red and white for the headings and a red outer glow for the comments. I felt this would attract the audience due to the sheer diversity in appearance. For each feature, I put the actual feature in bold with a comment about the feature. This comment is a basic convention of magazines which gives the audience an insight into the articles. On other magazine contents pages like mine, the title of the feature is usually in bold with smaller text for the actual comment. Another very small but important convention of magazine contents pages is the actual number for the articles, which I have placed next to my features. Without this, the audience will be unable to navigate the pages. Also, I tried my utmost to make the comments sound interesting, as these are what would cause readers to look within my magazine. Also, if these are interesting, the audience will be persuaded to read the articles and maybe even purchase my magazine again. As you can see, the layout for my features is very much like this. I have varied the appearance of the text for the feature headings and the comments. Also, like this magazine, I have placed a page number next to the feature headings. Features title. For the features title, I used a gold outer glow. I felt this was simple but effective. On other magazines, the title for the features was usually, again, like this title, simple. I felt giving the features title a gold outer glow gave out the message that the features were like gold, causing aspirers to want to read them further, attracting the audience. As you can see here, the title referring to the features is bold but very simple, allowing the audience to be easily aware of what it is about. Page number on website. The page number is a very basic convention which makes it easier for the audience to locate pages. I added a website to extend my target audience or to give my basic target audience something extra. Also, I feel this could cause my magazine to become more widespread, as people on sites like Facebook could create like pages or even tell a friend to visit the website who may later buy my magazine. Main image. As you can see, the main image utilises most of the right third of my magazine. I did this because this is how images were placed and laid out when the layout of the magazine was like this. For the main image, I have my model smiling. Although this is unusual to the hip-hop genre, I feel it shows a different side to my model, as on both the double page spread and front cover she looks quite serious, following the persona of a hip-hop star. Therefore, I wanted to have something different. This could in turn be used as an incentive to attract the female audience who probably prefer the more fun-loving side to my magazine. Double page spread. Heading and introductory comment. On other double page spreads, I found there were introductory comments which gave readers a basic overview of what the article was about. The purpose of these comments is to cause a reader to want to read the article. To make this convention useful to my magazine, I tried to make my introductory comments sound interesting, enticing the audience into reading my article. These comments were conventionally placed under the heading. I put this introductory comment at a stand as I felt it gave my magazine an edge, reflecting the cool aspects of the hip-hop genre, selling the lifestyle I wanted to portray. Text. For the text, I chose the basic Tahoma font. This was because the font for the actual article within genuine magazines is usually quite bold, simple, and easy to read, and Tahoma is a font which embodies these properties. Relating my image to the article content. On the double page spreads of genuine music magazines, I found that the image was always related to the article. My article is basically about two artists. The female artist has decided she wants to go solo. Therefore, I've tried to relate my images to the actual article through the positioning of my models. I have positioned them so that they are not standing next to each other. In fact, they are on opposite pages, which reflects the article about how one of them wants to go solo, causing them to split up. This image is part of an article about being the best MCR. It is related to the article because it is about how this musical group are trying to be the best they can be. Therefore, the musical aspects are shown by the microphone and the male who seems to be performing. Here is an image of the male on my double page spread. This image follows the codes and conventions of a real music magazine due to the clothing of my star. As every magazine has a specific lifestyle, conventions such as clothing have to be suitable. Therefore, I have dressed my model in designer clothes, which are a huge aspect of hip hop. This will act as a form of advertising for the brand my male model is wearing. It will attract aspirers who wish to be like my style. House style. It is vital to keep a constant continuity throughout the magazine. I have accomplished this by using red, white, black and gold throughout. This prevents the magazine from looking like different magazines. How does your media product represent particular social groups? My media product represents typical teenagers within an urban area. An urban area is usually a very multicultural area. Although the culture is very diverse, teenagers usually follow the trend or what they believe is cool or in. I chose the hip-hop genre because I believe it is represented as a very cool genre, which is usually targeted towards a younger target market. I have accomplished representing the market my magazine is aimed at by reflecting the hip-hop genre through the use of posing, facial expressions and clothing. As hip-hop stars usually wear designer labels to emphasize their power and wealth, I have dressed my male model in designer labels as I believe this will attract aspirers. The clothing my star wears is like a form of advertising for the product, as it would cause aspirers to buy the product. Although I have tried to attract the audience through the use of posing and other aspects for my female star, I have rebelled against the typical stereotype of a woman within hip-hop. This is because women are represented in a very sexualized way. I wanted to break this stereotype by having my model more covered up. However, as I have said before, I have tried to keep with the hip-hop culture through the use of facial expressions and clothing. The clothing for my female model was inspired by the Vibe hip-hop magazine featuring Chris Brown, as I felt it was simple but effective. Another way I've represented a particular social group is by having my models quite young. This means my target audience will be able to relate to these models. Also, I have chosen colours for my magazine that target my young audience. The colours I have used are a continuity of black, red, white and gold. This is because these colours are commonly associated with the hip-hop genre, therefore will represent my audience. Gold is a colour which represents wealth, a significant aspect of the hip-hop genre. Red is a colour which can be connoted in many different ways. For the hip-hop genre, I believe red represents the rebellious side of my genre. White represents the cool aspects of the genre. And finally, black represents the darker side of hip-hop. I have used fonts which I believe have the cool aspect and could be associated or used to portray the hip-hop genre. I have coloured the masthead gold as people into hip-hop are very much into wealth and glamour aspects of the hip-hop genre. Also, both the font and colours are bold and bright and can be seen as young, fresh colours. This reflects the audience of my magazine. On the front cover, I have tried to make the cover line short, snappy and interesting. As the front cover reflects the content within the magazine, I've tried to make the content relevant to my target audience, something I felt people within this age range would like to read. Therefore, this will cause the audience to look within my magazine, further attracting them. Finally, although my target audience is very much within urban areas, I feel it could also be targeted at people in the upper class society. People within the age range of my target audience could aspire to be like people within the urban area who are into hip-hop and therefore may buy my magazine. As you can see here, I have chosen a model which is young, representing my target audience due to her age. Also, although I have rebelled against the typical sexualized stereotype of women by covering my female model up more, I have represented the hip-hop genre and therefore that particular social group through my use of posing and facial expressions. Also, because the clothing is quite cool, it reflects the hip-hop genre and therefore my particular social group. The clothing for my magazine was inspired by the hip-hop magazine opposite, as I feel it is cool and still very effective. Within my article, I have used vocabulary commonly associated with street life and hip-hop, known as slang within hip-hop. As a result of this, my media product has represented my particular social group. Here is the male model within my magazine, which I have dressed in designer clothing. This is because hip-hop stars usually wear designer clothing. This is to symbolise their wealth. This represents my social group because aspirers usually copy their styles. Therefore, the audience for my magazine may wear clothing like this. There is a continuity of red, black, gold and white, colours that are commonly associated with the hip-hop genre, therefore represent my particular social group. These colours represent both genders of my magazine. of my target audience as they are colours that can be adapted to both male and females, unlike a colour such as pink, which would be stereotypically aimed at the female market. What kind of media institution might distribute your media product and why? Having researched into the institution Bauer Media, I found it catered for a number of different audiences, from women's weeklies like Closer to magazines for men. Currently, Bauer Media publishes music magazines Kerrang and Mojo, both aimed at the male market. The lifestyle Mojo portrays is quite unique, therefore my magazine would be an excellent business venture due to its unique nature. Adding a hip-hop magazine to Bauer's huge collection of magazines would increase their audience, as Bauer does not currently produce a hip-hop magazine. Bauer Media has a large audience due to the wide range of audiences it caters for. My magazine is of the hip-hop genre, a genre not yet part of the Bauer Magazine institution, therefore my magazine could increase their market. Bauer Media have two main divisions, magazine and radio. This synergy could be used to advertise my magazine through the radio station by playing songs related to my genre, or maybe even having its own personal radio station, like Kerrang, which is a magazine as well as a well-known radio station. This would in return attract my audience and increase the popularity of my magazine and maybe even the radio station, meaning an increase in popularity for both. IPC Media. IPC Media is able to use its own products as a form of advertising. This synergy would mean that IPC Media would be able to advertise my magazine through products of their own, increasing its popularity without having to pay for advertising. Currently, IPC Media produces music magazines, NME and Encore. Therefore, adding my magazine, which is of the hip-hop genre, to their collection could increase their target audience without affecting these other two magazines. IPC Media is owned by Time Warner Inc., a global leader in media and entertainment with businesses in television networks, filmed entertainment and publishing. As a result of this, the artists for my magazine would have the opportunity to be advertised through different mediums. This includes music, videos, albums, TV and DVDs. Exclusive interviews of my artists will be able to be held by my magazine, increasing its popularity. IPC Media have over 80 iconic media brands, with their print brands alone reading almost 2/3 of UK women and 44% of UK men. This adds up to about 27 million UK adults. These figures suggest a large majority of men and women read magazines produced by IPC. My magazine is aimed at both men and women, and being able to reach these figures of men and women would be brilliant. The international fame of IPC Media means choosing it as my institution would mean it would be given the chance to attract a large audience. How did you attract and address your audience? Before attracting and addressing my audience, I had to take into account their opinions and what they like to see on and in magazines. Firstly, I looked at my audience demographics. These demographics were based on the genre I had chosen for my magazine. The demographics allowed me to take into account the type of audience my product would be aimed at. Having completed my audience demographics, I created a questionnaire, handing it out to people I felt would fit into the category of my target audience. After this, I put together the results of my questionnaire in pie charts. Once I was aware of my audience, their likes and interests, and what they wanted, I began applying it to my magazine. On the next slide are the different ways in which I've tried to attract my audience.
Hi, I'm Unconscious, and today I'm going to explain to you about layers. Layers are important in Photoshop. It's basically a sheet of paper overlaying another one, transparent sheet of paper. If you've ever done drawing, animation, etc., you will know what a layer is. It's basically, well, consider it like you're sketching. It's like drawing on a piece of tracing paper and then overlaying it over a normal piece of paper with a drawing on top of it. So you can still see what is on the other layers, pieces of paper, and what is on the top one. Now, to create a new layer, you go up to this top toolbar and click Layer, New, Layer. Now let's go ahead and make 2 of them. So Layer, New Layer. Yeah. Right, now we've got 2. You should see 2 things come up down here. These are the layers. Now click on this bottom one, ignore the background because that's just the background. Let's make a colour background, shall we? There. Now we've got a background. Now let's draw ourselves a black man, sorry, here. There we go. Make sure this layer here is selected. Now we've got ourselves a black man. There we go. Now you can move him about and you don't have to edit the background because he's on his own layer. Now you can lock a layer, which is using this. When a layer is locked, you will get a padlock come down here. To unlock it, you just click on this up here, and then you can edit it again. When you lock a layer, you cannot change it. Now click on this other layer and create a yellow man. There we go, that's our yellow man. Now, you have to make sure layer 2 is selected before you draw that.
InDesign CS5 is a professional design and layout tool for producing high-quality, engaging documents for both print and on-screen delivery. While it was
When I first had the idea for Prezi, I didn't plan to start a company. I just needed a tool to help develop and share my ideas, and I found other presentation software far too restricting.
Prezi allows you to throw ideas and images onto an open canvas, resize and move these images around so you can show their relative importance. You can also group concepts together and then zoom out to show the big picture. Presenting ideas in a visually engaging way will keep your audience awake. Prezi Meeting makes it easy to co-develop a presentation with team members in multiple locations. The Prezi Viewer iPad app gives you the ultimate freedom and mobility to share your ideas one-on-one with anyone, anywhere, anytime.
We can't wait to see what you come up with.
Sign up for Prezi today. Happy Zooming!